rescue operation has resumed aboard that crippled Italian cruise liner. But what about the next step? That would be getting the giant ship out of there.
The Costa Concordia's owner has hired a salvage company to remove 2,400 tons of fuel from the ship. Senior correspondent John Miller takes a look at what happens after that.
At nearly 1,000 feet long, 123 feet wide, weighing 112,000 tons, getting the Costa Concordia from the waters off Giglio Island will be one of the biggest removal jobs in maritime history. But the big question, one that may take weeks to answer, is what kind of operation will this be? One to save the ship or one to scrap it? Either way, it's a big job.
Would this be the kind of equipment we'd see in an operation like this?
This is typical salvage equipment. Every job requires different combinations.
Arnold Whitty has worked in the salvage business for more than 50 years. His company, Don John Marine, was called in when a freighter crashed into the Rock of Gibraltar, broke in two, and sank. And when a Dutch cargo ship ran aground and rolled on its side in Albany, New York. And when this barge went down in Narragansett Bay. But saving the Concordia will be a challenge.
And why is the passenger ship less stable than a freighter?
Well, if you look at a passenger ship, most of it is out of the water. If you look at a freighter, most of it is in the water. That affects the stability. The more out of the water, the more unstable the ship is.
As we walk past his massive cranes and barges in the port of Newark, he explained what the process of saving the Concordia might look like. The first step is removing the 200 to 300 tons of fuel from the ship's tanks. Pumps attached to the barge are used to siphon the fuel and prevent it from spilling into the water. The massive hole in the hull would be patched, and then industrial-strength cranes attached to barges secured to the sea floor would right the ship. To rebalance the damaged ship, water would be pumped out of some flooded compartments or into some dry compartments until the ship could stand up straight. A fleet of tugboats would then tow it to a shipyard for repair. Once repaired, the ship would likely be sold to a different cruise line and returned to the seas.
That's an economic consideration. The cost of salvage and the rebuilding would have to be less than the insured value of the vessel.
But if the ship's owners and their insurance carriers decide the ship is damaged beyond repair,
it won't be moved in one piece. It'll be then termed a wreck removal, and it'll be removed in sections. Probably pretty large sections of perhaps 150, 200, or 500 tons, but it'll be taken apart and taken right down to the bottom.
And our own John Miller is with us this morning. So you were there in 2000. You were part of the conversation about this when the USS Cole was taken. What did you learn from that, and how does it apply to here and the considerations that they have to make now?
Well, what I learned from the Cole was, here you see this battleship. It has a giant hole in its hull. If you try to sail it, it's going to sink. And the most amazing thing was they came along with some Norwegian ship, a giant barge. The barge submerged itself. They slipped the Cole on top of it. It reemerged out of the water. And then you saw the Cole sitting like a toy. I mean, this was a huge 505-foot U.S. Navy ship just being taken away. They fixed it up. It's back in the water and serving again.
When will they have to make the decision what way to go?
Well, no matter what happens, this is going to take months, and that's whether they chop it up or try to sail it again. But they really got to get there, and between the company, their insurance carriers, and the engineers, they have to assess, is the half of the ship that's been underwater all this time, can it be gutted, cleaned out, replaced at a cost that makes it worth it to do it? That's a $565 million ship insured for about $450 million, so somewhere in there it's how much does it cost to rebuild half of it and patch the bottom?
Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Look.
John Miller, always good to have you with us. Thank you.
Thanks.